Okay, boys, I had a challenge with Shano and I lost for cat food. Fucking souse. Fucking shit, I tell ya. So, fucking Shano's gone with the fucking good old tuna here. Fucking tuna and crab, apparently. Oh, fuck, boys. So here it is here. Oh, fuck, I just dropped some. Here we go, boys.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
Boys and girls, BJ and GameDay back for another week. Round 8 of Supercoach. You've got Brent, you got Joshy. Bogan's in the background. How about that from the boys, mate? Tyson and Shano, they come up with it week in, week out. They're doing well here, the lads. How are you, Brent?
Hey, Joshy. Good, mate. Good to be back. Obviously, away last week. Had a few other things going on, but good to be back. And, yeah, Tyson and Shano at it once again. Absolutely gold, that stuff there. Another round 7 done and dusted. Round 8 preview coming up, mate. How'd you go last week?
Yeah, mate, wasn't too bad. I think 11.25 I ended up with last week. So a few good players in there. Obviously, for a lot of Supercoach there was a little bit of a struggle. But, mate, for me, yeah, Nofo and Harry Grant rescued my Sunday. Had the captain on Payne Haas. So it wasn't too bad. Didn't perform as well as I thought he would. But unfortunately, mate, copped a bit of a bad luck there with Will Hopewadi. I traded him last week. I brought in Brett Morris and Will Hopewadi. B-Moz had a cracker of a game. Unfortunately, Hopewadi, the dreaded syndesmosis. So he'll be gone for the next 6 to 8 weeks, maybe even more. And we'll see him traded out straight away this week. What about yourself, mate?
Yeah, stiff on Hopper, mate. Stiff. 10.24. So it was carnage, wasn't it? There was players out left, right, and centre. Mansour was a late scratching. Brought in Munster and Coates. So that was a big net trade in. A lot of cash in Munster there, which was disappointing. Ended up updating a bit, which was nice. But, yeah, just nothing massive. I had captaincy on KP. Could have been a bit more had they been awarded that penalty try at the end, which was neither here nor there. But no good. 10.24 dropped about nearly 3.5k spots, sitting at about 11k now. So I thought at one stage 1,000 plus was looking reasonable, but a few of those Tiger boys on the Sunday, Nofo, as you said, and a few people captaining Harry Grant and whatnot, ended up bumping a few scores up at the end of the round there. So a couple average weeks, but hopefully back on the horse this week. But Bogan is the man at the moment.
Mate, flying along. Another cracker of a week. 11.16 I think he had there, mate, and continues to defy us. Overall ranking around that 5,000 mark. So, Bogues, mate, you better turn the mic on. Give us your story.
Oh, to be honest, I'm pretty lucky that I scored that high. I think Harry Grant saved me a bit there as well. Ended up completely not going with the trades I said in the show last week. Ended up not putting the captaincy on Madison. I put it on Ponga instead, and that cost me. And actually had a draw in the BJ and GameDay League head-to-head.
A draw?
Yeah, so if I had went with what I initially planned, I would have got up quite easily. But you learn from your mistakes, and I'll be trusting my gut this week when it comes to my trades. So, yeah.
Yeah, mate, look, it's always tough. We've all gone back on trades, and, your hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, so, I'm happy how they're going along, and bringing another couple of guns in this week, so keep moving forward.
I reckon, Bogan, there's a couple of things you always got to go with your gut, because when you don't and you listen to someone else and do what you were going to do and then don't and it pays off, you're dark. And, there's no points for woulda, coulda, shouldas. That's what you did, and that's probably the worst bit.
There is an exception to that rule. Unless you're going to trade someone off the Josh King list or trade in someone off the Josh King shit list, and then you just have to listen to what I say and don't get them.
What I did is I traded out Twal And
he's
brought in
injured for a little
cheapie
while.
to make some bank. I did the trade to Ponga. And on my trades aren't up in the trading floor this week, so I'll just say them now. So this week I have the bank to get both Smith and Cleary.
Nice.
So it was.
Who are you sacrificing?
Appy and Luai.
Okay.
So it was a financial based decision to not make that move last week to get 2 guns this week. That will stay there hopefully for the rest of the season.
Go play the long game, mate.
Yeah.
That's it. And look, you look at a player like Cam Smith. You know, he's in that top 5 players overall. We keep sort of wondering when's the year he's just going to drop off, and he doesn't. You know, he defies the Supercoach gods. So, good luck to everyone who's got him. But I hope he breaks a leg sooner or later. Games from last week. What do we jump into? Can't remember who played. Yeah, this was what got the cat food going at the start of the show there. I was a little bit dirty because, like Bogan, I did go against my trades last week purely because Teddy was out. That announcement of Teddy, and I'm glad they actually did do it before this game started because obviously it's never too much fun when players are laid out or anything like that and you don't get a chance to review your trades. That said, I was bringing in Cleary last week. A try there at the death, I guess, gave him a bit of a better score. I sort of would have been happy if he only scored 60 or 70, but he jumped up to 99, another good game for him. Players like Fisher Harris, Isaiah Yeo continued their solid form. Latrell was awesome. Very good game from him there at the fullback position.
Super buy of the century. He was probably sad, guys, so lay off him. Don't bully him.
Oh, look. Yeah, no, we're not about that. Same with Corey Horsburgh. We're not about the bullying here for players. But, look, Latrell, he had a crack. At the end of the day, he tried to sort of get into a bunch of plays there, but he just kept dropping every ball that he touched. So a game he'll love to forget. But at the same stage, the fact that he's involved like that, is good signs ahead because there will be the times where he puts it all together and, you know, those plays that he creates will turn into breaks or tries and, you know, owners will be pretty happy then.
Any thoughts on that game, Breno?
Thanks, Brent.
Oh, it's jump back into it, boys.
He's sleep deprived. He's sleeping with his eyes open. Yeah,
no, look, I thought what a lot of people thought as well. Cleary, I think, had just over 100 break even. If he scores, 50 or 60, he's looking nicely under 600 as it was. Pretty soft try at the end there, which stung anyone that didn't have him. Panthers look good. The left edge looks pretty dangerous. I think Kickout's, a couple of good teams, games away from probably blowing up massively, just the way they're using him. Even Crichton out there on the left. Obviously, they didn't have Mansour, but Naden filled in nicely. But they're looking pretty solid this year based on what I've seen so far. And if Cleary didn't have that finger on the middle of his face, he probably scores 120 with all the kicks that he missed.
Looks like a fucking Klingon.
I'll tell you what, Billy Kickout, he's about to go on the list. Very close. Very close. Look, for a guy with so much blow-up potential, he's a fucking miserable prick. Like, seriously.
Surely there's someone listening whose team's gone to shit. Their season's over. Just start buying all the players that are on Josh's shit list. I want to know how the shit list team goes.
The shit list team would be terrible. Look, what's Benny Hampton done since we put him on the list?
I think he was another single figure.
4 points. The fact that I had to even go near that bloody cat food is an absolute tragedy. It is ridiculous. I've been nothing but proved right since. Come on.
He's playing some decent minutes. Like he was, at the start of the year, he wasn't playing to me. He played, over 70 minutes on the weekend, near 70 minutes the week before, and 80 the week before that. So, his base, he's never been a guy that's going to be pumping out, 50 points in base. You got to get those tries out of him and those line breaks and stuff. But I reckon he's not far off. They've got an interesting sort of 5 weeks ahead. No top 4 teams really. So it'll be interesting to see if he actually goes on a bit of a run. Cheapest he's been all season. I don't know what his ownership percentage is, but maybe 80 odd break even. Maybe this is the week to bring him in if you're looking for a bit of pod action. What's he? 20% of teams, so he's nowhere near pod. Nowhere near. He's 1 in 5 teams, which is pretty crazy.
Mate. Look, and I mean, this is the thing. You look at a player like him, and yes, the blow-up potential's there. We know how damaging he can be, but as you say, when you look at that second row position, you just want that beast there. You want guys that are just going to. You can't take a 40-point or a 45-point in a second row position. It's just not good enough in Supercoach. And I think that's what anyone else out there who's watching who maybe new to the game a year or two in or something like that, like that's the one position that you've got to have. You take those kind of risks at centre wing because of the inconsistencies that are there. But for second row forwards, you want to be scoring 70, 80 plus every week. And I can't have it.
Anyway,
I reckon
fellas,
you're right. Yeah.
I'll just transition to the next game so you can start talking about it. But we got a bit off track whenever we start talking about Ben Hampton.
No, we're talking about kick out, mate.
Oh, kick out now. Sorry, the new addition to the shit list.
Yeah. What's the next game? All right, we'll keep going then. We can keep going, but we'll keep going on this. Storm up against the Warriors. Wow, 50 points. Yeah. I watched this game, and
now, what did we say about Pappenhausen last week?
Look.
someone
was
going to put him as captain, and you went, no, don't do it.
I think I traded him out probably 2 or 3 weeks ago now.
Yes.
I don't really regret it. At the end of the day, he's pumped out too many 50s. There was a 25 in there the week before. Yes, he's had a crack of a game, but again, it's against the Warriors. You look at their matchup this week against the Roosters. If he puts up 80 or 90 this week, it'll be a huge game. So, yeah, fair play to anyone who kept him. But anyone who kept him this long was hurting from what he did previously. And that's why you see all those top teams this week that scored well were all ranked 30, 40, 50,000 and above. So, yeah, not really too much, too disappointed there.
Yeah, look, it wasn't like it was a genius move if you still had him or brought him in. Playing the Warriors, like you said, he was due. If nothing else, he was due. I think one of his tries he scooted out from dummy half, so it's not like he's, chimed superbly into a backline play or anything like that. But it was definitely due, and if there might have been some smart cookies out there that might have gone a Teddy to Pappenhausen or something like that, or a Turbo to Pappenhausen. But yeah, good luck to his. But probably pretty massive in a week where it was pretty low scoring. So well done to anyone there, and I think. Momirovski was obviously massive. He looked pretty good as well. Filled in Brenko Lee's spot. Vunivalu back to a bit of form. Obviously, Smith was huge. It was one of those games. If you had Melbourne players, you were loving it because there was just points everywhere. Apart from Munster, for fuck's sake.
What's the ownership on Tohu at the moment? Is it still around that sort of 3 or 4%?
It'd have to be going up from when we talked about him 3 weeks ago. He was priced around 500k when we first sort of brought him up.
Have we seen him score under 70 in the last 6 weeks? How is he still only 550, 600k?
Base. He's pretty well over 600 now. He hasn't scored less than like 60 odd points in base. He's in 2% of teams.
2%. Wow. That's Uber pod. That's awesome.
Massively under the radar. I think he played at lock as well on the weekend. He ended up playing at lock, and so his base output in the last sort of 5 weeks, he hasn't produced anything under 65 in just base alone.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Huge. Third game on the Friday night there. No. Was that the Friday night?
Yeah, the second game on the Friday was Trips Dragons.
I tell you what, the fight the Dragons put up. Look, obviously, the Roosters, the 2 ACLs, a lot of conjecture there around and criticism around Bankwest Stadium and the condition of that track. But as has come out in the media today, they're going to relay the whole surface, so all games will be moved away from there for the next few weeks while that surface takes hold.
You
Look
fellas got a bit of an angry text message from me when Victor Radley went down.
Mate, Radley. Told you not to have him, mate. He's on the
in
list.
Draft team.
Look,
he's a good player for a draft team.
He is a good player. He worked his way off the list. It's just obviously absolutely miserable circumstances that happened there with him. And I hate to say it. It's shit when that happens to any player. Look, you can hack an injury that's 2, 3, 4 weeks, but when you're talking a whole season and maybe never coming back as the same player, that's very disappointing. So I hope him and Semi Verrills can heal up pretty quickly and get back out in the training park as quickly as possible. But from a Supercoach point of view, really happy that I brought in Brett Morris. 103 scored there. Had another cracker of a week. Named in the centres, and it didn't really matter. They found him. Joey Manu playing at fullback there. That was actually the combination that I had there last week, was Manu in with Cleary. That would have been slightly better than BMOS and Hopewadi. But unfortunately, with Teddy getting ruled out, I had to change a few things around. Mate, did you watch this game?
Oh, I watched a little bit. I actually ended up going out for the first time. I haven't had a few beers since the young fella was born. So I was watching it sort of here or there. Dufty actually looked really good. I'm surprised he only scored 60 points. That ball he's throwing to Lomax sort of unders line. I think that's the second time I've seen him score off that. And Lomax looked really good and beaten side as well. But apart from that, another just towel up from... like the Dragons probably, like you said, mixed it with them. But again, the Roosters just showing why, they're too good. No Tedesco, they lost 2 men early. Didn't have much on the bench for most of that game. Just clinical again. They got the job done. But
mate, they're just an 80-minute team, aren't they? A lot of these other teams will sort of play for 30, 40, 60. The Roosters just keep going the whole 80. So it's why they're premiership favourites again. And obviously the injuries to Radley hurts, but there's no
J-Moz was out as
they
well.
Can't be there at the end of the year. Yeah.
J-Moz was out.
Arguably could have played. I heard a little bit of talk that they did rest him just as sort of a precautionary. And I guess when you're playing the Dragons, it's probably not that unheard of. But back up against the Storm this week, him and Teddy will be both back in. And let's hope they can both hit form again.
Yeah, and I think Chook's flying it under the cap, I read this week. So hopefully they can make a signing to strengthen up the squad a little bit for 2021, Joshy.
They're flying under the cap.
Yeah, I heard about 400K or something was the number that I heard this week.
Jesus Christ. Wow. Wow. Anyway,
whether I got trolled.
Move on from the sombrero. Yeah. First game on the Saturday there, the 3 p.m. game. And, mate, what happened?
Got out to a flyer, the Cowboys did. I think it was 26-0 at half-time. I don't know what happened.
Well, basically, the Tigers last week did this to the Cowboys, and they just turned around and done it to your boys.
And as I said, no Val, no Morgan. I think one of the boys on the Facebook chat sort of mentioned this. They nullified KP quite well. They were just kicking the ball out pretty much the end of most sets.
Yep.
Getting the scum feed. They had a blinder of a start. It was a bit concerning, really. Like, I was pretty keen to sit down and watch this on the Saturday, and I was sort of thinking, this will be where we find out a lot about them, if they're actually going to flex and be a bit of a threat this year. But it reminded me of Newcastle 2015 from what I was watching. I know they fought back in that second half. They won the second half 20-6, but it doesn't mean anything when you lose. So back to the drawing board, play Manly this week. We'll see what happens. Fitzgibbon was pretty massive. Supercoach-wise, he came back. Clemmer was huge. KP, as I said, that no try at the end. That no try would have given us a bit of a chance. I think a minute and a half to go. Had they given that, we might have had one last set at scoring again to tie it up. But just not good enough. Pearce virtually missing. So, and plenty happening for the Cows. Lolo was massive. Hess was pretty good. They actually used him a bit. And Masters even though he only scored 39, actually looks back to his busy self again. I don't know what happened for a few weeks there. Hammer was good. Hammer was a good trade-in for anyone that got in him. I went Coates over him, and he burned me.
He killed me, Hammer. I thought I was up for a huge game with him. I think he was on 54 at half time, and he only finished on 58. So obviously not scoring too many points in that second half really killed him in attack. But good signs from the young fella. Obviously, when Val comes back, he will probably shift to that wing spot. We'll see our opposites drop out, but hopefully he can continue that sort of 50 average and make us some money.
Yeah, I think they were pretty good. It was pretty disappointing for us. I'm just hoping that no other teams start to employ this kicking the ball out against us to sort of nullify Ponga, because it'll kill Supercoach points for him, because he's always breaking tackles and stuff like that anytime he brings the ball back. So
yeah,
where's
Kano? I just looked up into the chat. As Kano mentioned, years ago they used it as a tactic against Slater, and it was always really effective. But as soon as they brought in that 7 tackle from a kick and dead, that sort of put that out of play, because obviously it's a little bit harder to give a team 7 tackles from the 20.
Oh, and it's funny, right? Like, as funny as it sounds, Best obviously didn't play. Shibasaki, I think, had 2 errors bringing a ball out of our own end early in the game, which, he ended up filling in for Best there. How the bloke scores 65 makes me sick, and there was plenty of people that were forced to play him. Plenty of people that would never have played him that were forced to play him, and then he ends up pumping out 65 because he's got some junk time sort of attacking points at the end there. But, as I said, I think Best, underrated. He brings the ball out hard. He's adds us a bit of a strike weapon out wide. Man was massive as well. As much as he cops it, he's probably one of our best all year. But anyway, I'm a tragic. Let's move on to the next one. Hopefully get up next week.
5:30 game on the Saturday, and we had the Broncos up against the Titans, and wow, the hurt just keeps happening for the Broncos. Up here in Queensland, look, everyone's into them. They're getting booed off the park. Just looks like a miserable team. Yeah, Bogan, fuck them. But in the end, great to see the Titans get a win up. There's another team that's obviously been struggling for a little bit of a time now. Ash Taylor had a little bit of return to form, scored a nice try, almost turned up in Supercoach there as well. But just a miserable game. I didn't even really like watching this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to see Brisbane lose at the best of times, but it's getting a bit sad now, isn't it? Like, the team they got on paper, I know they're copping it in the media and all that, but they were ordinary. You're getting beaten by the Titans, and we lost to the Titans a few times in the 3 years where we got the spoon there, but they shouldn't be losing with the team they got on paper. Buggered if I know how Boyd's still in the side. Milford's just, if he's meant to be their marquee player, I should be a possible option for 5'8" at them.
Now, but I haven't checked the team list yet, mate. Has Boyd been dropped, I've heard, or not?
Oh, there was an injury doubt, so it wasn't a clean drop, but he should play. From what I'm reading, he's been named at centre still. He should play. They've got Richie Kenner.
Oates has been dropped.
Oates is in the reserves. He's at 18th man, and Richie Kenner's in the squad as well. It looks like he'll play, but apparently there was a little bit of a niggle he was carrying, so we'll see what happens. But Oates out for Osako on the wing there.
I'm just wondering. Actually, before we go on, let's talk about the fullback. The young fellow who got a spot. A few people were trading him. I think he scored about 28, 30 points or something like that. Yeah. Tessie and you or whatever. Look, I watched a few things. He made a lot of mistakes. I think a little bit unlucky for the fellow. He threw an intercept pass that saw a runaway try. I think there's potential there, but it's hard to go into a team that's obviously on the back foot as a fullback and be expected to make such a big impact for. He's a small fella too. He ain't big.
Yeah, I think he looked really bad under the high ball. Poor bugger. He dropped a couple and just it looked lost. I don't know if he's a natural fullback. He didn't even play the whole game back there. I think he got taken off with a bit of time to go. But they play the Titans. He doesn't do awesome. They lose like that. now they play the Warriors, Dogs, Tigers before they play the Storm. If he hasn't got it sorted out in the next couple of weeks, I don't know how long they can persevere with it. He did as bad as he looked under the high ball, whether he just had a bad day or feeling a bit of the pinch first game at fullback. He actually offered a bit in attack. I think he got a line break and looked actually like he was going to create some opportunities for him, which I think was good. And with a name like, is it Fantasy? You'd have to bring him in. Fantasy. Look at his name. So
Supercoach,
he's actually already
fantasy shit.
He's already actually played his third game. It's just that he played, not many minutes. His break even was, he couldn't get his break even. So he's bottomed out and he's playing his fourth game this week. But, he's possibly someone you can pick up in the next couple of weeks if you need a cheapie option because he's bottom dollar. But who knows, maybe he has a blinder against the Warriors and starts to make some coin.
Yeah, look, I'm really tempted. They're playing the Warriors this week. I'm actually tempted to put Osako in. I'm not too sure. I'll have to have a look at that. As I say, I've sort of traded Hopewadi out and thoughts on who to bring in there, but we'll have to wait and see. 7:30 game on the Saturday night. Oh, and we had the Eels up against the
before that, mate, Haas. There's a lot of talk about Payne Haas not being effective. A few boys in the chat into him now as well. What are your thoughts on Big Haas, apart from copping a jabbing from Hipgrave?
Yeah, look, it's hard for a bloke like that to carry the whole team. I mentioned it on a Facebook post there earlier last week before the game that, a guy said sort of Haas wasn't really a captain option or not as consistent. I mean, he threw out one game in the 50s. Now he scored 65. 65 is probably not the worst score, but, it'd be nice to say our captains could score 70 or 80 each week. Mate, he's a class player, mate. He's 19, 20 years old. You can probably argue that the last 2 weeks he's had bad games for him, and he's still averaged 60. So he'll come back. The Broncos will come back. Fafita will be back in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I don't know. He's a hold for mine, and I'm holding him till the end of the year. Wouldn't even consider trading him.
Yeah, fair enough. I reckon he's coming a bit of flack in a well-beaten side in a forward pack that, struggled. I think Tavita Pangai looks pretty good. He adds a fair bit to him, and once they get Fafita back, like you said, Carrigan actually adds a bit of starch for him. But, he's copping a bit of flack, and I think I even saw one bloke say they traded him out of his draft team into the free agency. Like, that's just madness.
That's stupid.
But he's the lowest he'll be all year with another big break even. But if that's the biggest problem you got in your team, you're doing pretty well, I reckon.
Oh, and that's the thing. Like a player like him, I'm not really worried whether he's 800K or 550. The ups and downs in price are going to happen all year. We talk about these set and forget players that, barring injury, you just want them to stay there. The one thing I'd point out about Haas is he does look a little bit slow at the moment. You look at those sort of forwards, props, second rows, whatever it may be. I don't know. He just looks a little bit out of it himself as well. So hopefully something can change and he can bring that spring in his step back a little bit, because I just think he looks a little bit slow at the moment. Saturday night, 7:30 game. Wow, the Eels getting over the Raiders. Heart in your mouth stuff, this one. Obviously, the Raiders scoring 2 very late tries in the last 5 minutes to take it to Golden Point, but the Iceman, King Gutho, got it done. Kicked the field goal to get the Eels home by a point and continue a pretty bad run for the Raiders. Obviously, on social media and during the game, the big talk out of this one was Corey Horsburgh and his sort of effect. Since then, we've found out that he's got a Lisfranc fracture of his foot. He's going to be out about that sort of 12 to 14 weeks. So, unfortunately, just that fracture in the area of the foot where very, very hard to get back on the park. Commiserations for the young fella. Very emotional on the field there. And hopefully he can bounce back in time.
Oh, look, I tell you what. In terms of there's still absolute people whinging about one ref, two ref, this rule, that rule. There's always going to be pearls made. But tell me how a bloke comes out of a tackle with a blood nose, and they show ample replays of him copping one straight in the snoz. They don't give that a high shot. The bloke's, fired up. Love to see all that sort of stuff. But the week before, someone slips over and knocks themselves out, and they give that a penalty straight up. Do you see that one?
Yeah.
Parker? It's just
Parker, yeah.
Like, how does it? They just don't get it. Like, anyway, I think Raiders were probably lucky to keep him in it. A couple of good late tries. It was actually pretty entertaining in the end. Chance, obviously getting a bit of those points, but Raiders in a bit of all sorts. I don't know. They're definitely not looking like that 2020 side, and the news today that Bateman's won't be there in 2021. They just sort of seem pretty flat, mate.
Bullshit.
What?
I'm calling it. I said it weeks ago. I'm calling bullshit. He'll be there in 2021.
Well, he won't be if he's trying to get some cash out of it. I think he's just going for a cash grab.
That's exactly my point. Is me and my crystal ball over here. I'm thinking that put yourself out to market, see what you can get your 750, 800K a season, go back to the Raiders and say, hey, look, 2019 we almost won the comp. 2020 is a bunch of useless pricks without me. Sign me at 800K and we'll win the comp next year. So, I don't know.
But the Raiders could easily turn around and say, well, half of 2019 you were out because you had your fucking face broken. And the majority of this season, you're out. Like, mate, you're not worth that when you're that fragile.
Mate, when you're getting beat by less than a try in a grand final, and your star playmaker's the Clive Churchill medalist, whether you're out for 2 or 3 weeks or not doesn't matter. I mean, 2019 was all good things for the Raiders. So I don't know. I just think they'd be stupid to let him go. He's that good a player and that impacting a player that I'd be looking at other people's contracts to tear up before I tore his up.
I reckon Ricky's just shown he's not going to have those personalities. He's let go of Leilua. If Johnny's sort of thinking he's more than the team, you'll let him go too. They just signed that young bloke as well, the young back rower from overseas, the 19-year-old.
Yep.
I don't know what his name is. So, yeah, I don't know. I think he was awesome. He was a big reason, key to their success last year, Joshy. But Ricky doesn't seem to tolerate big personalities.
Yeah, but that personality, it's not that bad with Johnny. Like, I think Elliott Whitehead's an absolute wanker. I've met him a few times and he's just an absolute toss. Bateman's not that bad, Like, I don't know. I thought, he fitted into the team quite well. But, yeah, obviously we don't see a lot of things that go on behind the scenes anyway. So
he might want that Banks kind of lifestyle.
If the Titans can't get Fafita, I see big money getting thrown at him, or the Dogs, and he's going to just get his cash grab and go home. I think that's just what I see happening. Supercoach wise, though, back to the game, there was 4 blokes who cracked the ton, another 3 blokes who went 90 plus. And how about it got mentioned here? How about the forward pass for one of Whitehead's tries?
Wow!
Croker forward pass with Badger. So they've said we're going to have experienced touchies, some of them ex-refs. Badger is dead set in line with that one. If he's not freaking refereeing under sixes at Condor Ovals on the weekend, I'm not here.
That was 2 metres forward. That was absolutely atrocious. Yeah,
and
how they missed that call.
I've played someone that's had Sean Lane and Elliott Whitehead in their back row in one of my classic cash leagues. Absolutely sick.
Wow. Yeah, see, that's why head sucks, mate. We talk about that. The bloke's probably ranked 60,000th as well. So, yeah.
Anyway, a big Supercoach game. A lot of people looking at D Brown. Obviously, Moses got a couple of weeks, I think, Moses, Joshy.
It's come out today 2 to 3 weeks. I can't imagine. I mean, the initial report was 4 to 6. Now they've come out, and a few reports have come out with 2 to 3 weeks. So, look, man, when you're on the crutches on the sideline, I can't imagine anyone's back in 2 weeks if you're hobbling on crutches.
And he's got a massive break. He's dropped a heap of cash because he had over 100 break even. So he's plummeted cash, and he'll have another massive 100 plus break even when he comes back. It's absolutely sick. A lot of people would have had him, and it absolutely burns your piss if you had him in your side.
Oh, mate, look, I reckon if they bring him back, let's say he comes back in 3 weeks, I'll be happy to give him a week or two. If he comes back in 6 and, really gives it a chance to sort of let that heal, it'll just come down to matchups for me. If they're playing a few easy teams when he comes back, maybe he's a straight bring in. But, yeah, you're right. If he's coming back in with 100-plus break even, you can give him a week or two and try and get him real cheap.
Yeah, if he's back in a couple of weeks, he might be back for Eagles, Tigers, Dogs, Sharks, Dragons, which is not a bad run. But we'll have to see what happens. He's burned a lot of people now because he hadn't been good. He hadn't really been firing that last month. So a lot of people might be looking at D Brown and as a bit of a pod for him now that Moses is out. But anyway, we'll move through these rest of these games, Joshy.
Sunday game, 4 p.m, and the Sharkies getting up over the Sea Eagles. Great to see my boys get this win. SJ had a great game with a hand in a few tries. Cattell was good again, scored a double. He's really active too. A lot of tackle bust there for the little winger from Cronulla. Adam Fanua-Blake, wow, what a beast. What an absolute beast. 142 Supercoach points. We'll point out as well, a few people have asked me about this guy during the week. One thing you'll probably notice if you go through Adam Fanua-Blake's stats from the past sort of year or two, when he does hit form, he holds it for about sort of 4 to 6 weeks. So I'm not saying that he's going to score 142 week in, week out, but you could definitely see 2 or 3 tons in the next sort of 6 weeks from this guy because he's definitely a confidence player.
And he does, like you said, he hits a bit of purple patch and he has a knack for finding the try line and that sort of thing. I will say, he doesn't play huge minutes, like sort of 55-ish, give or take, most weeks. Base output isn't unbelievable, but it's generally pretty consistent. Again, around sort of 50 odd points or so. But so he's still probably needing a bit of attacking stats, but he was full of them. Scored a couple tries and he's got a minus break. Is there a minus break even? Yeah, I can't remember, Joshy, but I think he's. I don't know what his owner percent is, but yeah, anyone that had him did well. I think I had him on my bench in one of the many draft teams that I have. Can I just say on Johnson, I reckon every year I generally have him, and this has been the first year I haven't, because he always does a hemi or he always does something where he gets injured in a game or he fucking, he's been absolutely massive. I think he had 10 try assists now in his last 10 games. Getting some sick try assists. Like he threw that cutout ball to Goodwin. It was about 15 metres, cut out 4 blokes. Goodwin's got a mountain of work to do and scores, and he gets a try assist for that. Absolutely makes me sick. And my trades this week, I would have loved, I've always been a Johnson fan. 2 weeks ago, you had to get on him, I reckon, because he was like 480. And I think I went Arrow to McInnes that week, and then Arrow outscored McInnes. But he was only 470, 480k.
Yeah, that's when I brought him in.
Which he was a great buy, and he's pumped out 75, 80 now. I was thinking about bringing in Cleary this week, and I can't get both of them, but I'm possibly not going to go Cleary and might go SJ just because of the matchup and wait an extra week on Cleary because SJ's sort of just looks like he's warming up to it. And when he gets going, he can get going, kicks goals. I know Cleary does, but just because of the matchup, I'm sort of on the fence.
Yeah, look, I think both teams, we speak about sort of the runs that teams have, and both the Panthers with Cleary and Cronulla with SJ have got easy runs over the next 6 weeks. I think they play each other, but other than that, you're really looking at both teams playing outside the 8 other teams. So chance for both playmakers to step up, score some points for Supercoach players. From a point of view of Adam Fanua-Blake, mate, Adrian Gomez in the chat, I've got a bar for him. Absolutely, I've got a bar for this bloke. He's a fucking legend, mate. Look, what I love about Manly and their forwards is really they basically you've got the A, B, and C defenders off the line, and they really attack away from the middle of the park. Their front rowers, and they just hit the holes and they hit their smaller players. And mate, he's a big boy. He's a big boy. I'd definitely be bottom in that one.
Carrying a bit of girth, surely.
Oh,
I reckon.
Imagine if he wasn't. Imagine if he wasn't. Poor
How Blake Brayley gets awarded that try. And another one in my cash league, someone's had Brayley. That try. Tell me how Sirenen, if Wade Graham isn't there, Sirenen doesn't trip over and not make that ball. But there's some absolute pearls every week. It makes me sick.
I wasn't too sure what to make of that because obviously I thought that Graham got interfered with by who was turning from the other side, whoever the centre winger was.
He gets hit, whoever it was. You're right, yeah.
It was just one of those chain reaction things. Like Wade Graham doesn't go anywhere near Sirenen, but at the same stage, Wade Graham doesn't go anywhere Sirenen if he doesn't get bumped off by the other guy. So I think Mick Ennis called it as a commentator. I would have been quite happy for them to deny the try and just penalise Manly because they took out Wade Graham. You know, I don't think it was a penalty, obviously, towards Manly because Wade Graham got pulled out. But, yeah, by that stage of the game, I think we were up by 20 or 30 anyway. So
don't give me that shit. We've got Supercoach on the line here, mate. It doesn't fucking matter about the result of the game. That's all points.
Who the fuck still got Blake Brayley?
Oh, someone who had me head-to-head in have a look at the BJ GameDay League.
Benny in the fucking chat still had Bailey.
It makes me sick.
Stop letting Muppets in our fucking leagues. Why would you still have Bailey?
Bundy. It was Bundy, I'm sure.
Oh, fuck yeah, that does surprise me, mate.
He's had Johnson and Brayley as fucking pods to my team, and it makes me want to vomit in my mouth. Anyway, moving on. I've turned into bogan here.
Asian mate, Sharkies aren't looking good. We've had 2 wins in a row. Once against the Doggies where we got lucky, and then Manly that have just come off 2 massive games against the Eels and the Raiders. I reckon they were just a little bit sour, Manly, and without Turbo, Sharkies definitely not looking good. Ranked 5-1-3. Suck it, Joshy.
Suck it, Joshy. Yeah.
Let's see where you are at the end of the season, boy.
We finished it off with Tigers. It was a pretty close game. The Tigers getting home comfortably, obviously, in the end. But it was a bit of an arm wrestle at the start there, Joshy.
Yeah, 6-all early, and obviously the Tigers getting away from them towards the end. I think a couple of tries towards the back end of the first half blew it out a little bit, and they just continued on in the second half. No Faluma was huge. Joe Lua had a good game for once, which was nice to see. And Harry Grant, look, he gets injured every second tackle, Harry Grant. He comes out grabbing a shoulder, grabbing a knee, grabbing a hip, whatever it may be, and still bangs out 100 points, scores a try, sets one up. Mate, the kid's a player.
He's busy, isn't he? I think he's second in the Dally M now, I think I saw during the week. And I also heard,
10 points.
Don't quote me on it, but I think I heard or read somewhere that if Smith plays on next year, he has an option to sign with the Tigers, or he can leave Melbourne. I don't know exactly what it was, but and I don't know if it's true, but that's what I heard, that if Smith plays on next year, he can sign, I think it was with the Tigers. So pretty big decision for him to make, because he looks like a player that, you know, he could be a top. He's possibly, you know, this year's Queensland hooker at the way he's going.
We'll put it this way, with the amount, I guess, teams throw money around these days on younger players and just taking that punt, this is a guy that some team will. You know, there'll be a team that'll come out, offer him a 5-year contract for $3.5-4 million, and you know, it'd be stupid not to take it. Obviously, if Cam Smith does overstay his welcome with regards to what Harry Grant thinks, then yeah, it'd be stupid not to look elsewhere.
Yeah, and I think the other one out of that game was Tommy Talau. He was touted as a bit of a possible cheapie to start the year. Didn't get the start. Scored a double and pumped out 72. So I think he's a good trade-in target. And he's a big sort of rangy thing. He actually looks like he could cause a bit of trouble. So he might be a decent, you know, if you're having to throw the last reserve on someone. He's not terrible, but they do play Penrith this weekend. The draw's not unreal, but you know, they're looking up for it this year, the Tigers, anyway. Should be a good game against Penrith this week.
Obviously, 72 points with 2 tries is not a massive score, but I think Kano mentioned in the chat a little bit earlier, his base is around that sort of 27, 28 average, which for a centre winger is not too bad. Just hope he can sort of keep that going week in, week out, maybe throw in the odd attacking stat here or there and a try. And, yeah, he'll make a fair bit of cash for anyone who's getting him in.
Yeah, I think like he's just timed right now. Anyone that, you know, needs a cheapie this week, he's your one.
Yeah. And we'll move on to Let's do a quick peas and carrots update. Peas and carrots. 5 starts so far in Queensland now. 1 win, 3 seconds. Unfortunately, last start second, we got beat a very, very small margin at Ipswich. Peas and carrots got a little bit of a hip injury, so a little bit of a mansore. She's out for a week or so. She'll be back in this Sunday at Capalaba up the straight here in Queensland, and I'll keep you guys all updated on Facebook. Games next week. Aiden Morris, you reckon Elliott is a keeper? Nah, mate. He's definitely got those sort of 60, 70, 80-point games in him, maybe even more. But he's also got a 20 or a 30 minute when he goes disappearing. So I do not think Elliott is a keeper.
He has his price at $500K with a minus 20 break even. So he's going to make probably a motzer of cash. The thing with him is like he plays 8 minutes on the left edge, which is the dangerous edge. That's the Whiten edge.
Yep.
But I mean, he'll have the 40s in. He's probably like kick out. He has the odd week where he scores tries and does well, but he has backed up last 2 weeks, hundreds. But he'd be a super pod, I reckon. You're eating apples? Are you smoking apple? All right. So
M&M's.
So moving on to round. Are they crunchy? Round 8.
Yeah,
This one's
crispy M&M's.
We
Good
will
ones. You go through the games, mate.
Blockbuster on the Thursday night. We have the Storm taking on the Roosters, so a big out for Melbourne with Muntz that obviously won't be there. So Riley Jacks comes into the side. Momirovski keeps his spot. Teddy back for the Chooks. Obviously Radley Gaunce and that Butcher will get a start at block, which would be interesting because he actually goes all right. If he ends up getting some minutes, he could be a sneaky. Have a look at what he's priced at. I don't know exactly, but last year he was actually doing well because he was getting a bit of time there, Joshy. But otherwise, not a great deal to mention. It should be a good game. It's, as I said, disappointing that Munster's out because it was shaping up to be a bit of a cracker. Can't find Nate Butcher for some reason. Where's he gone? 378K. So he could be one to keep an eye on in the second row there. Just if he's getting minutes, he could be easily, upwards of 500K in a few weeks, given where Radley's out.
Can you see him getting mass minutes with that bench?
Give me 1 sec. Let me have a look at what he was doing last year because he was, believe it or not, I think it was last year. Nat Butcher. He ended up getting. He was playing 80 minutes for a few, like high 60s for a while there, and his base output's really good. Like there was a 6-week period from round 13 to round 18 last year where he didn't. His lowest score was 46, but apart from that, it was all 70 plus.
Yeah,
he could be relevant.
Fair enough,
but it'll just depend on them. If he's playing sort of 50 to 60 minutes, it's just like you said, whether it actually does, we'll have to see. But someone has to assume the Radley role.
Put it this way, he's not on the list yet, but I'll give him a few weeks.
All right, now that I mentioned him. Friendy as well, mate. Now that there's no backup hooker, you probably got Friendy as a bit of an option as well.
Yeah, look, Kano and I were discussing about half an hour before the show a little bit of a draft trade. He's trying to rape me as usual. But Friendy, absolutely an option. Considering, there's no sort of number 9 there on the bench. We know he can play 80. We know he makes 50 to 60 tackles a game, and the odd attacking stat of 40-20 can come in there. So a little bit hard. Possibly a downgrade from Appy. What's he priced at the moment, mate?
4.5.
If we was 400, I'd say yes. The fact that he's sort of 450. If he was sub 400, I'd be looking at, maybe a downgrade from Appy and make some cash there because, he could average sort of 65 to 70 over the next 6 weeks while he's got that number 9 spot to himself. I'm not too sure they've got anyone waiting in the wings to sort of take some, time away from him.
No, I don't think. I think maybe if Appy was worth a little bit more, you could look at a downgrade because Appy seems to be a bit hit and miss He's still scoring 50 minimum every week. He's got a 70 average, but with Grant in one spot and then guys like Smith doing so well, maybe Coruscant and friends a little bit sideways-ish. It's probably a luxury trade, but just something different for the people, mate. Maybe a draft one. Then we've got Friday night. Dragons taking on the Raiders at GRO, apparently. I didn't even realise this was getting played there. So
Yeah, back at home grounds this week for a lot of teams.
Oh, there you go. So the turnstile.
You be working, mate.
No, I didn't even actually know it was on. So they've given me the cold shoulder. So no Rapper. Rapper's been dropped. Curtis Scott, to the bench as well. The turnstile. He's not the worst defender I've ever seen. Jeez, he'd be up there.
He's terrible, isn't he? Fuck. He's atrocious.
Possibly. Yeah, he's shocking, isn't he?
He just lets people through. He's just like, oh, there you go. There's a gap. Please stroll through there. Fuck.
He's bad. So I don't know. I think the Dragons could be up for this one, and possibly I wouldn't even call it that much of an upset. But yeah, you'll see on that one. Hudson Young, mate, played the full game last week as well. He's priced at $3.70, just about.
Yeah, look.
So
obviously, this is a bloke last season that a few people were sort of getting on towards middle end of the season. When did he get suspended? He copped that suspension. What did he do again?
He gouged an eye after he'd already just come back for our guy.
That's right.
Eye gouging or something stupid.
Yeah. But he looks like a decent footballer. And again, the Raiders have sort of got that bench where, Curtis Scott, I don't think he sort of fits into the back line anywhere there. I think he probably comes on just for an enforcer role. But minutes are probably the big thing. If he gets 60, he's probably relevant.
I just can't see who's taking his minutes. Curtis Scott on the bench I don't know what that is. He's always been running some Goula's in the middle, Sutton will be in the middle, and Havili. I can only see the two edge-back rows playing 80 for him. So it could be an interesting one. It'll be hard to sort of bring him in because there's so many other things going on. But anyway, we'll see.
Yep. 7:30 game on the Friday night, or 8 o'clock game these days. And the Eels up against the Cowboys. Eels are short price favourite here, about $1.30. The Cowboys $3. Eels probably the form side, despite that loss of Moses. Dylan Brown seemed to be the one running around the park the past 6 weeks, so I don't think much changes here. Again, we sort of talk about that service right. Possibly Madison will be the one that drops off a little bit. He won't have that quality ball as he gets from Moses. Jai Field, good young player, but it'll be interesting to see how they handle it in the halves.
Yeah, I thought they had Brown back. He must have copped a couple of weeks because he would have been a big in. But yeah,
2 weeks.
I still think they'll be good. Val named on the extended bench, so whether he ends up a late inclusion will be big for.
They have said they're giving him every chance to be able to play.
So whether the Hammer holds his spot and O'Neill slides back in the centre and Opachek falls out, I don't know, or maybe the Hammer misses out altogether, but just keep an eye out on that one. Anyone that's thinking of playing him this week, I'd have to assume Opachek falls out and O'Neill goes back to centre, but we'll see. But just keep an eye out on that one. Apart from that, I don't know. There's points everywhere. Hopefully Maddo's not too much affected by Jai Field coming in. We'll see what happens there. But Campbell Gillard had a blinder on the weekend, didn't he?
Yeah, mate, he's new lease of life there at the Eels. He's really taken on that front role next to Junior Paulo. So, Supercoach-wise, I've had him in drafts before, and I think he's probably a draft-only player. Classic-wise, I don't think you can have him. I think there's other options first. But, yeah, definitely good to see a return to form for him.
I probably wouldn't worry about it. Next one, moving on to the Saturday at 3.
Yeah, Sharkies up against the Titans here. Bit of dry weather football. Mate, I'm just chucking the big C on Sean Johnson, hoping that form continues. He's got a good track record against the Titans. While the Sharkies are in form, I guess, obviously going for that 3 on the trot. I'm hoping we can see a little ton here from SJ.
All the signs are good. That's why it's worrying me. The only time This is the most
Yeah.
suspect thing in Supercoach.
Yeah.
When it seems so good to be true, it probably is, except for when you don't
Yeah.
have Teddy and he plays the Dogs and scores fucking 200 points. Yeah, the writing's on the wall. The right edge is starting to look a little bit better, still a bit clunky at times. There's still a couple of passes that went nowhere. I did see the interview with him after the game with, I think it was Vossi, saying he still wants to run the ball a bit more and get a good balance in his game. So I think it's good things, and he's got goal kicking's good. So if he only has a 50-point game, if he kicks 4 goals, 4 or 5 goals, there's his 70 to 80 points.
You spoke about past seasons where he sort of has those niggly little injuries, whether it's the hemis, whether it's the ankles. Is there any possible connection that this year we haven't really seen him run the ball a lot? So we speak about his try assist and that he's top in the league. Maybe if he continues that kind of football and lets other players sort of attack that way, is that a positive? Do we see him go through a season injury-free?
Possibly. I mean, he's be about 30 odd, so he's not a spring chicken anymore. When you got guys like Katoa and Rami on the outside here, and even on the other side with Dugan and now Goodwin, there's no reason why you don't just give him some good ball. I'd have to imagine 7 or 8 of those try assists are kicks for Katoa, or Katoa picking up a ball and strolling in. So maybe that could be it, bud. Maybe he just doesn't need to overplay his hand, and he's such a good half that that the rest might sort itself out. But beware of this one. I feel like it's too good to be true, and I'll probably bring him in. So Cleary's guaranteed to tear the Tigers apart, and Johnson will get 40 points. Heard it here first.
Well, and that's the thing. I guess with the Sharkies having that sort of 3-prong attack with Chad Townsend and Matty Moylan as well, any one of them can step up on game day and the others can be quiet. So, let's just go with fingers crossed that it's not too good to be true. 5 o'clock, 5:30 game on the Saturday, and we move to the Warriors up against the Broncos. So definitely the down game of the week. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck only hours ago did cop that 1-game ban for the shoulder charge, so we will see him miss this week, and obviously that'll be a little bit of a sad sight for the Warriors not having his leadership at the back. But mate, we spoke about this a little bit earlier. Saka getting a start. Xavier Coates is still there. Oates has been dropped.
I think Supercoach-wise, Carrigan's back, and Offahingawi, I don't know if he copped 3 weeks, but he was up for something. I think he'll miss minimum 2.
Yep.
So Carrigan back in the middle is good. I think TPJ, I don't know if he's pod. I think last time I saw he was at 10%, but I honestly think he looks like the most dangerous player out there most of the time attack-wise. So it's just whether, the combos aren't awesome at the moment, but it's more just interesting to see this one based on the scrutiny Brisbane are under, really. All the pressure's on them.
I was going to say, if the Broncos lose to the Warriors, will it be C at a Seabold or?
Nah.
No, not at that
Apparently
stage
not.
yet.
Apparently
Not yet. Nah. I wish we did, but no, not yet.
We went all right, it seems.
I don't know.
Again,
Look, all the talk up here is that he's just lost the team a little bit, but I don't think they're ready to get rid of him yet.
I mean, to be fair, on paper, it's not that bad. They're just a team lacking a bit of confidence. They just need a win, right? Like, once they get that first one, maybe they start rolling. They miss Fafita. Obviously, he adds heaps. I still would have TPJ on one side and Fafita on the other. I wouldn't have Alex Glenn as one of them. I know it's a defensive thing, but anyway, if the Broncos lose again, I know, but whatever.
Don't bully Alex Glenn, Brent.
I heard about that.
He'll cry, okay?
Yeah, these poor blokes on $500,000+ a year, and the rest.
Yeah,
it's not that they're trying to exploit a hot button issue like online bullying to deflect from criticism. Okay, you need to think about their mental state.
You want to stop online bullying? Stay the fuck off social media.
Yeah, fair call.
Don't be shit.
Tohu's still a buy. I think even if he's playing on the edge, he's shown in the last month that his base, whilst playing on the edge, is still going to be 60 plus.
I tell you what, he looks good with the ball as well. Like those little sleight of hand offloads here or there, they look good. He's their one player that you can probably sort of create something off. So definitely their shining light for the year.
But I reckon Warriors will miss Shaq. He has been quiet, but he still puts in 110%. I imagine Beal will probably slip in at fullback, but maybe the Broncos get lucky with this one.
Surely Hiku goes to fullback.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Beal, maybe. I wouldn't know. Who cares?
I remember those days where he used to deputise for Brett Stewart, and I thought Hiku looked better than Brett Stewart at Manly, but anyway.
Yeah, he did, to be fair.
7:30 game on the Saturday night, and I got no idea who's playing. West Tigers fans. Oh, this is a solid game. There's probably a fair bit of Supercoach points in this one.
Yeah, it could be interesting. I think a couple of form teams, obviously Penrith, sort of starting to show that they'll be a big threat this year, and the Tigers have had a couple of easy games and they've got the job done. So this is probably their first big test. Shano's saying Panthers 13 plus in the chat already. But yeah, it could be a game. I think if the right Tigers team shows up, could be in for a good one. Plenty of options, Supercoach-wise, plenty of names in there, mate. Take your pick. Hopefully Mansell's back.
Let's bring up the list again. There's one bloke who is almost about to make his way off the list, and that's Adam Dewey. He's a bit more talent there than I ever gave him credit for, and he's an absolute ball hog. Like, he's got white line fever like you wouldn't believe. If the try line is anywhere near him, he will not pass the ball. So he got denied a couple last week. He got held up. I think he got across the line for one of them. But, there's something there with this kid. I thought Corey Thompson was a better fullback just because of the kind of player he is. But, Adam Dewey could be a little bit of a pod.
Sorry to interrupt again, but we've got some breaking news from the chat. Shane Foote has said if the Panthers don't win by 13 plus, he'll do the chili challenge again.
I want an actual chili. I don't want a fucking Tabasco sauce.
Raw chili, mate. Not cooked up sauce that's delicious.
And none of this shit from Woolworths, mate. Go to an actual chili shop or something.
A chili shop.
And,
you go to your old big chili shop.
Get some Carolina Reapers.
Yeah, I want a Carolina Reaper. All right. But I ain't going up against you because I've done enough of these stupid challenges and lost.
Look, mate, Cleary, I know, like I just mentioned before, I think there might be a few people with the Cleary SJ dilemma. I think you can get them both in this week. They're the trades, maybe Moses Munster or whoever it is you're looking to trade. If you have to pick one, is there merit in the conversation of going SJ over Cleary, or do you have to get Cleary for the long-term sort of set and forget? What do you reckon?
Oh, well, I've already got SJ, so I'm bringing in Cleary this week, so I don't really give a fuck.
Yeah, fair enough.
Look, if I take that out of it and you look at Nathan Cleary or SJ, I'd probably go Nathan Cleary. I think, as I say, I think Cronulla are going in a bit of a different direction where they do have that attacking through Chad Townsend and Matt Moylan. I don't think you've got that there at the Panthers as much. They really find Cleary a lot more. So the chance of both players scoring 70, 80, 90 is high, but the chance of a player scoring 120 plus or 130 plus is a little bit higher with Cleary than with SJ. So I think, Cleary's probably the one I'd go first.
Beautiful. No wonder I'm leaning towards SJ. It'll blow. Whatever I do, I'm bound to not get it right. I couldn't. What's the opposite of Midas touch? I've got that. Fucking hell this year. That's right. Everything turns to feces. Kando saying Munster happy for SJ Cleary. Would you get Appy out?
What?
Oh, he must have Walters. He must have Walters. Still.
Oh, Kano, just keep Munster, mate. Just keep him there until he comes back.
I would be doing that. I know nothing wrong with Appy.
Has it got to that point now where we're sabotaging other people in the league?
Right, we are. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Joshy always
whatever
has.
we can.
It's never been that point. It's been like that since day one.
Yeah. I tell people trades just so I hope they do them, and then I
trade
do
Zach
something else.
Lomax. Like,
He's telling
Lomax
everyone
is
to
a good sell.
he's telling everyone to get Cleary because he wants to keep SJ captaincy as a bit of a more value.
Absolutely. What do we got on Sunday? 4 o'clock game?
Yeah, this will be a perler. My boy's taking on
boys
Manly.
bounce back, mate.
I fucking hope so. I don't know what to read into last week. I don't know whether it was, they're flying on the day now. I'm trying to make some excuses. I don't know. They just didn't show up. Come out good in the second half, but we've done it twice now. So I think against Melbourne, we didn't play the first 40 and then, made a bit of a comeback. And obviously last week. So your boys destroyed them, really, to be fair.
Well, I tell you what, obviously they made that call to play Ruben Garrick at fullback and Brendan Elliott in the centres after Elliott went all right in the centres against Canberra the week before. Huge mistake for mine. I think Brendan Elliott, we just spoke before about how Hiku used to deputise for Brett Stewart. I think Brendan Elliott does a similar thing for Turbo. I think he's their number one, got to be. And I'd be having Funa out of the side. I know Funa's obviously shown a little bit of form, but Ruben Garrick, the way he performs, I'd be having him on the wing and Elliott at fullback. That said, same thing with Lachlan Croker, the 6. I'd be having Cade Cust. He looks awesome, Cade Cust. I think he's a true number 6, and he's the way they got to go for the future. Lachlan Croker, edge player at best. But yeah, that's just obviously my 2 cents.
No, fair call. And I reckon another interesting one probably in the next couple of weeks, Josh. I know his points haven't been awesome, but he's probably a proven beast in the past. Is Marty Tapau's priced at like 440k with a pretty big break even again this week. Possibly an option to look at next week. You could be looking at like an upgrade of Tanua Brown, possibly straight to someone like Tapau or Rudolph with a little bit of extra coin. So I think he's a nice little option probably next week. You don't need to do it this week, but just something to mention.
Look, it's something I had looked at because I've got it's probably the one spot I'm a little bit weak in. I've got Carrigan in the front row there alongside Haas, so it's nice that he's back this week. But yeah, I've really been struggling the last week or two, just trying to find that sort of combination of those 4. I've got Haas and Carrigan, as well as Tanua Brown and Rudolph on the bench. So Marty Tabau, look, if he can get to any kind of form that he used to be in, it's been a little bit of a quiet season for him. Obviously, that dislocated thumb didn't help. But he's a class player.
Anyway, that's next week. But hopefully we get the job done. Surely I'll probably chuck the captaincy on Ponga again, I think. I know there's a few options there, like you're talking about SJ, you got Cleary, Maddo, obviously again, Lolo's been huge. So maybe Ponga sneaks under the radar a little bit, and I'm hoping to put him to the sword.
At the end of the day, mate, he's turned into that sort of solid player that we knew he could become. His bad game now, he still seems to score 60 to 70. So, can't really argue with it, mate. He just gets so involved that you almost got to have him. With Turbo out, I just haven't found a way to sort of, I've needed to shore up other positions before I can bring him in. At 770k last week, I think he dropped about 60k this week or so. But, he was a little bit of a hard to have.
Yep. Someone's just asked about Pearce. I think you're going to ride the 40s with Pearce if you bring him in. I know he's not cheap. He's probably going to be a bit of a pod. I don't know what his ownership is at. My computer's playing up, but if you have a look at his history, he's gone 140 for 50, 140. So you're going to get those weeks. He's probably a better draft sort of pick up if you're playing draft. Yeah. But anyway, that's just some thoughts on Pearce. He was pretty quiet on the weekend, so hopefully he bounces back this weekend, but he could be up for it.
Yeah. And final game to finish out the round, mate. 6 o'clock, and we have the Doggies up against the Rabbitohs. So, look, obviously Hopewadi out long term there. We see DWZ go back to fullback, which is a nice move. Avarillo, what happened there, mate? I know he sort of got knocked out or so.
Yeah, I think it's just precautionary. I think because of the head knock, he won't be back this week.
Marcelo Montoya gets a start in the centres there. Really not too much on the doggy side, really, of interest for super coaches. Adam Elliott, obviously, we've spoken about him a little bit already this episode. Not a hold for, not even a buy for mine. I know, obviously, you mentioned, mate, minus 20 break even, so there's a little bit of cash to be made. But I just think the next 20 or 30 point game is just around the corner. Yeah. I see the potential there, and I know what people are looking at, but he just hasn't proven that he can do it week in, week out so far. And until he does that, maybe 6 or 8 weeks in a row, I've got to stay away from him.
Oh, it's just the whole Dean Pay thing as well. Like, he's played 60 minutes one week, 50 minutes the next. Plays, he's played 80 the last 2 weeks. If you knew what you were gonna get out of him, maybe you could, because he does have a bit of a dig, but he's just you don't know what you're gonna get, and you've probably missed him now. He's over 500k, so if you're looking at him, you're going pretty left field. Like for Tyler Mariner? I don't even know how you say his name. For Taylor Mariner's probably an option better to look at. The last 4 weeks he's played 80 minutes and his base has been over 50 every week, but he hasn't scored too much over that, 50 to 60 points. But I reckon he's a better option than Elliott at only mid 400s. But what about this Pommy? This Pommy prop has been named in the extended side, so it'll be interesting to get a look at him if he plays.
Yeah, I think they probably give him one more week. I think just from a point of view of fitness, make sure he gets on the paddock and gets through captain's runs and a few training sessions okay, and the fitness is still there. Mate, for Tyler Mariner, obviously, when was it? 2018 when he had that huge season. He really announced himself on the scene in Supercoach, and then the Dean Pay effect came in, and he got dropped. Reece Martin got dropped. Corey Harawira was sometimes in, sometimes out. Josh Jackson seems to be the only player that has held his spot in that forward pack over the last sort of 18 to 24 months.
Yeah, it was 2018. I think he sort of had a bit of his breakout year. I mean, if you're looking at him, you're probably, I don't know why you'd be looking at him, but he is probably worth mentioning. He's a bit underpriced if goes on a bit of a run. It's a bit hard in that dog side. There's not much potency in their attack, so there's not many options around him. It's pretty much going to be posted when he's getting the ball. But I think this week, plenty of those Rabbits players could be options for captaincies, whether it's Latrell. I think Cody Walker's a pretty massive put at under 5% last time I looked. Cookie, maybe Murray this week. I thought Braden Burns was a little bit stiff to get knocked to the bench for Jimmy Roberts. I thought Burns and Graham had been doing well, so I think Bennett just has a bit of a favouritism for Roberts. But I think the Bunnies could finish some people's rounds off nicely if you're going to go the big out there captain than one of these boys this week.
Okay. Question about Jimmy Roberts. Is he fucking useless or what?
Yep.
I don't know. He's got the raw ability, doesn't he? It's just, I don't know, when he doesn't show up every week. I don't know what it is. Whether Bennett's just trying to get his head right. I guess we'll find out a lot. He obviously had a shocker last week. Played off the bench and got sin binned. But like
you say, he's got the raw ability. It's raw as fuck, mate. It's a blue steak. Look, it just I haven't seen a good game out of him for 3 or 4 years. Like, he has good moments. He doesn't have good games. Like, I don't understand the hype around the guy. Just because he can run 100 in 10.5 seconds or 11 seconds or whatever, I don't know. Like, yeah, I can't have him forget Supercoach. So I forget anything to do with Supercoach. As a supporter of a team, I'd be absolutely loath to see him. I'd have Jared Beale in there first. There you go. There's the call of the year. I'd have fucking Jared Beale in a team before I'd have Jimmy Roberts.
People talk about his, or whatever. Supercoach perspective, if you think Talau's base is decent at whatever it was, 27, 28, Jimmy's base in the first 2 games is exactly the same. What I don't know with the Burns drop is if he's going to play on the left now, which is their strike edge, which is like your Walker Walker edge of the field now, and it's where Latrell probably loops in best. Previously, he's always played on the right, but I think Campbell Graham's probably got that locked in now. So if he's playing on the left, and like I said, that's the side that Walker favours, maybe there's some more points for him, but I think you could probably have some egg on your face, anyone that's bagging him now, because they don't have a terrible run over the next few weeks either.
Could have some egg on your face. Now I can't down 6 eggs, but I tell you what.
Here we go.
I tell you what. Let's go with if Jimmy Roberts scores more than 70. I'm going to go 70. I want to give myself a little bit of leeway because at the end of the day, if a centre wing has a good game, they should score more than 70. If Jimmy Roberts scores more than 70, I'll crack an egg on the top of my head and I'll crack one on my forehead next week on the show. All right, I ain't eating nothing because I'm over that shit. But there you go. There's a little bet for next week, all right? So,
Right.
All right. I'm bad at these two, so anyone who wants to get on Jimmy Roberts this week, 70-plus points, get on.
Jimmy Roberts is confirmed to turn up this week.
I think it's guaranteed. He's making 70 without a doubt. That look at the Dogs centres. They don't even have a genuine centre playing centre. They got new wingers, new
doesn't matter. Jimmy
centres.
Roberts isn't a genuine fucking centre either.
We'll see. I think the only issue will be is whether he plays out the game because he does a hemi trying to run too fast.
Yeah, that's true. I'm good for a sin bin again. I reckon he'll get 2 weeks in a row of sin bin for sure. Minus 5 points by all means.
That's got to be a record, I think. I don't know.
It has.
I think it has to be a record, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Fuck, there's some hate for Jimmy here in the chat. Fuck, I didn't think
there is.
Jeez, unpopular opinion. Jimmy might go all right. I might have to bring him in this week.
He's
a pod.
Is Jimmy Roberts on the list, Josh?
No, he's not on the list. No, I wouldn't say he's on the list. The reason I say he's not on the list is because the Jimmy Roberts thing is not about Supercoach. So my list is about Supercoach, right? So people who think these guys are good at Supercoach or could perform well at Supercoach and score points and whatever. Jimmy Roberts is just a shit footballer. So you don't make the list if you're just a shit footballer.
All right, that's why I was confirming it. You
make the list if you're supposed to be a good Supercoach player, but you're a shit Supercoach player. So the list is we're definitely concentrating on how Supercoach levels are and what they can perform on. So yeah. That's it.
Fuck, there you go. Eh?
All right, on to the trading floor.
All right, so we're an hour and 20 minutes in, and we've just got through the games. This is good. We're going good this week.
Change places! Change places!
Hampton, you're up, son.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I think this is what I was looking at. I think I mentioned it earlier, Moses to Cleary, but maybe Moses to SJ. And I don't have Jake Trbojevic. I've got Tommy Trbojevic still. And I'm looking at Big Davey Clemmer. I can get to Trbojevic, obviously, to Clemmer through plenty of duels. So I think Clemmer looks really good. And he seems to have developed a bit of an offload. It has been quite effective, which was really obvious on the weekend. So I don't think he's under the radar whatsoever. And I think if I bring him in, it sort of shores up my two front rowers in Haas and Clemmer, and I don't have to worry about.
Just for Bogan's brilliant graphics there, it's not Jakey the Clemmer, it's Turbo.
Yeah,
it's Tommy.
Yeah,
so
I should have known there was some fucking wizardry at play with the duels. Brent's the king of that.
So what are the duels you're going through?
So I got best will flick back to fullback, which means I'll probably have to play Coates, which is a bit unfortunate. I didn't think that one through. Had I brought in the hammer, I wouldn't have had to do it because I don't have any other dual centre wing fullbacks to do it with.
Yep.
And then I've got Fui Maono in the second row. So he goes down into that centre spot that his best leaves. And I've got Carrigan in my front row, and he falls into the second row. So I can pretty much bring in whoever I want, to be fair, except for a half. Had I been able to get two of my halves out, because I'm too short in going Munster and Moses to Cleary and SJ, I think I'm like 40 or 50k short of that. I would have gone SJ and Cleary, but I could go, the pod of Harris. I could go anyone, but I was pretty happy to shore up the front row. We talked about earlier, Joshy, you want to have your forwards, your base engine room just pumping out those consistent points. If I bring Clem in, I think my 5 starting forwards will be Haas, Clemmer, McInnes, Lolo and Madison. So when, we talk about guys like Kickow and probably David Fafita, they're not those guys that pump out heaps of base. They'll be, an option to bring in as a reserve because I have got that engine room all sorted sort of thing. Yeah. So they'll make a good sort of, reserve there, which is where my thinking is coming from with these ones.
Mate, let's just in the chat there, we've got Vaughan Moore. Now, Kano's just tried to obviously give him a quick answer, but it is a bit difficult to explain, Vaughan. With the dual trades, now when you trade someone, obviously if you've got a player that is dual position, so whether it's second row, front row, whether it's a Jake Averillo who's a centre winger and a halfback, basically when you go to trade a certain player, when you go into the trade area, you can select the substitute. So you can change that other player's position into theirs, and it basically a flow-on effect through the trade. So as Hampton's mentioned there, once he's traded out Turbo, he's moved Bradman Best from the centres to the fullback position, Terrell Fuimaono from the second row to take Bradman Best's position, Patrick Carrigan from the front row to take Fui's position in the second row, and that leaves him in position to bring in David Clemmer in the front row. It is a little bit of an iffy one, but, mate, absolutely jump on board. While before the week starts, throw a few trades in there, see who you can do, but it's all about when you open up that trade, moving positions around with that S button, that substitute button.
So, yeah, and that's, I think, the key, Joshy. If you don't know how to do it, you got to go on if you're on your phone, there's the trades out, trade in toggle. Yep. If you got to go into the trade out, find the guy that you want to, swap, and they'll have the little S highlighted. So you've got to hit that, move them into that position. Obviously, as you said, and if you've got to do it multiple times, and that's what you got to do. I think it can get confusing for people is if they, want to do 2 trades. If you hit 2 of them and then it starts bringing up plays in every position, if you just try it with the player you want to move, that's a dual positional player first, it makes it a bit easier to sort of figure out. Whereas if you hit the trade on both you think, if you're not used to it, it's a bit easier if you just do the trade that you think is going to be your dual trade first, if you can.
Yeah, for sure. My trades for the week, look at a little bit of a tough one here I shouldn't say tough, but Moses to Cleary, fairly straightforward one there. Unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, I did bring in Hopewadi last week, so he's a straight in, straight out for me. Tommy Talau or Blake Ferguson. Now, Tommy Talau makes me some cash, leaves me 140k in the bank, but I'm absolutely not convinced on him whatsoever. That said, the bloke I've got next to him up there, Blake Ferguson's had one of the worst seasons in Supercoach. We've talked about his access to the ball in the games. Wanga Blake doesn't pass. Ryan Madison doesn't pass. He just hasn't seen any quality football in attack this year in Blake Ferguson. But with Dry Field in there, maybe something changes. I'm not too sure. I just know that I'm going to curse myself when Blake Ferguson at 350k scores a couple of 80s or 100s in a row. He's going to score tries eventually. It's as simple as that. Maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe he won't. Thoughts on Ferguson, mate?
He hasn't scored all season.
Yep.
In what you'd probably describe as a more potent edge. The best call I reckon I've ever heard was someone on one of the Facebook groups said, and it applies to everyone on that right edge, Maddo Wanga Blake. Wanga Blake couldn't pass COVID to his nan. And I reckon it's true. So maybe with a different option out on the right. I just don't know. His base isn't terrible. He's still pumping out over 30 points in base pretty much most weeks. I think he's had a couple under that. So his base is still pretty good. So you might be on the money. They don't have a terrible run coming up either, mate. They don't play. Newcastle aren't looking like a top 4 side now, so they won't play a top 4 side till round 15 now in Melbourne. So they have all the sort of teams you want to play: Cows, Bulldogs, Dragons, and then not long after Melbourne they'll have the Warriors. So it's a bit of a pod move, but yeah, it's just whether you want to spend an extra 200k on, or whatever, 150k on Fergo, or you need that cash and just go to Leo, and there's less. I guess the risk is less because there's less money attached to it. Yeah.
And see, that's what I'm thinking is obviously the risk is less than that 150k that I bank helps me next week. You know, whether it's talk about players like sort of topping out like your Tanua Browns, and whether you go to a Marty Tapau or, you know, even further up and try and bring in a Clemmer or someone like that. So it is a little bit of a hard one where you probably want to use a little bit more foresight than anything. Yeah, I don't know.
And the thing about we've talked about go with your gut and do this and that. I mean, like if you don't trade Ferguson in now and he goes postal and then a couple of times the next month or whatever, you'll be sick. But it's also, it's one of those ones that doesn't seem like the thing to do, which might make it, you know, one of the moves to make. I can't imagine his ownership would be massive. But, you know, what does that 150k do for you? What are your trades next week? Maybe that's a better way to look at it. If it means you can bring in, I don't know who, maybe you just have a rethink about it in that way, mate.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
But I like him for I've got him in a few drafts and he's been killing me all year. It's doing my head in.
What do we got next, Bogan? We go to the leagues?
We go to the leagues. With the player of the week is Jason with Kicking Stones. And he scored 1,338.
Not bad.
Geez, good scores.
Anything above a 1-2 is absolutely huge last week. So very well done to Jace. 1,338. You get the congratulations for the week. Overall rank 120. So hasn't really done it from behind either. He's done it a fair way up there. No doubt he probably would have jumped up a few thousand spots. So well done there.
And that takes him to the top of the league. Sorry, top of the group.
All right, so we've got a few people up there in the group which are in the top sort of 500, which is good. Lisa, the Tigress, so she's our top gun in the individual league, so we'll switch to that one in a second. And she's having a cracker of a season, 1,228 last week. I know that her and Macca had another awesome week as well. So I think Macca scored about 1,250 or 1,240. So I think he was top for the week.
So Whistle Vogs is in the chat as well. Behind Marsh's flops, he's number 9 there.
He's what?
Behind Marsh's flops.
Yeah. Behind Marsh's flops.
I can't see the rankings on that.
No. Whistle Vogs is Bob's useless mob. Bo.
Oh, sorry.
That's Bo from. That's what's the lad's name you were talking? What, Bo? What's your last name? You're on Facebook there tonight talking to Hampton on one of the.
Oh right.
Yeah.
I've gone.
Oh, Ben Gaylord or something.
Ben G.
What's his last name?
Ben G. Sorry, I got the wrong one. Ben G. Not Whistle Vogs.
Bo Slayford. That's it. There you go. Not Gaylord. Slayford.
Benny G.
Gaylord fucker.
Gaylord fucker. There was another good one on the passing. Matto couldn't pass herpes to his girlfriend. I like that one.
Fucking hell. That's good. Yeah, that's good too. So Fergo's basically never going to see the ball.
And he's 10%.
Well,
he's still 10%.
That's what you're telling me.
He's still 10% ownership, which is not that small.
So top scorers from the BJM GameDay League are up now.
So yeah, Macca 1,233 for the week. Lisa 1,228. Then Bogan next. So two players, two super coaches, Lisa and Macca. Cracker of a week, and they're up in the top 1,000. So Hell's Greenies, Wayno had a solid week at 11.05. Fortunately enough, I got Wayno in the head-to-head. He did captain Nofo, so it was do or die for me for a little bit there. It rescued his week, that's for sure. Shano, top 5,000 still, so he's going well. Yeah, not too bad. Lee's going right. I think we slipped a little bit. Big Ted will be into Taylor this week. She had 707 points. So we're still, I think we've just slipped outside the top 100 in leagues, down about 109. So a little bit disappointing there, but hopefully we can bounce back this week.
The next one up is the BJ All-In.
It's Bo's first year doing Supercoach. Apparently, he's sitting 154th. That's sick. Well done, mate. And he's 90th in fantasy. That one we do not speak of, but solid.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. There's only about 100 players that play fantasy.
You've got those three fucking idiots with their polo shirts that sit around.
Yeah, Bogan doesn't like those blokes. Who we got there? Oh, Dylan. He beat me this week, so unfortunately I had to come up against him in head-to-head. He gave me a hiding by about 120 points. His overall rank's pretty solid too, up to 1,600. So, yeah, not too bad at all. Next league, mate?
Next league is the BJ version 2.
Fuck, I can't read it.
It's
I'm waiting
solid.
for it to come up on the TV screen here.
Savali with unbelievable 09-2.
Oh, Valley. So Valley's my boy. Valley and me go to the gym together. Yeah. So obviously with COVID, we haven't seen too much of each other in the last couple of months. But no doubt in the next couple of weeks we'll get back boxing together. And yeah, really good bloke. He's got a great family there at the gym. So well done to Valley, 1,232 points. Cracker a week for him. PTKB, P Top, Kevin Bottom. Haven't seen him for a while.
He should be in the Invitational.
Look at him, 27,000. He's having a shocker of a season. What's going on, Jesse? Get your act together, mate. Bogan, mate, look, you're on every leaderboard, Bogan. You've done well.
Yeah, I do believe in the head-to-heads. I'm on top of every ladder except the BJ and GameDay League because fucking Kane Anderson's there.
Casual brag.
No brag.
I reckon it's pretty heavy. Like, I'm still averaging 1,100. It just goes to show that how much higher the point scoring is. Ranked 11k and scoring 1,100. What's the working first averaging in the whole thing?
1240? 12,
So it's like
1230?
1,100 is the new 1,000, as you said before, and 1,200 is the new 1,100.
Yeah. We're averaging over 1,100 and we're about 800 points behind first. So it's a long way home to consider. After 8 weeks, we're pretty much already a full week of points behind.
Which, and I know they said since the whole rule change thing, there was that analysis done on the first 2 rounds compared to the next few. So it makes sense, but pretty crazy. Like if you're averaging 1050 plus, you're still probably playing most weeks and having a dip. So you got to lift your game now. I'd be happy with 1,100.
I think the hardest point as well is like you look at. We talk about the scores that have changed. Probably your top 1,000. We always used to sort of talk about the key ring, and I'm still missing mine from a couple of years ago. You bastards, they never sent it out to me. But top 1,000 is almost top 5,000. Like we're all sort of having really good years, and we're sitting around that sort of 5, 6, 7,000. So a lot of people obviously getting more educated about Supercoach. They obviously watch a lot of BJ and GameDay and learn who not to put on the list from the list. So, we're narrowing it down. We're narrowing down the field, that's for sure.
Yeah, interesting, I thought.
On to the results from the draft.
What happened? I got beat. Fuck.
So,
Who did I play?
Breno went down to Big Ginge.
That one hurt. Fucking Adam Fanua Blake.
Fucking got beat by...
Joshy went down.
Get him on the pine.
No, bloody Ginge had him in that one.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, that hurts.
Yeah.
That hurts. Sunday, I think I went into this game thinking I was a chance, but I had Hopewadi. And I took the captaincy off Nofo and I put it on Brooksy, Luke Brooks, thinking he'd have a big game. So Yeah, a little bit of a woulda, coulda, shoulda here for this one, but
You didn't have Hopper in this one, did you? Didn't Kando rape you for this one? He took.
I'm thinking about mutual.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about mutually exclusive.
Bundy's in that one. Yeah, so Kando trade raped you and then
one.
copped it in. Come round karma for him.
Yeah, that's right. Kando, he's out for 8 weeks, you bitch.
And the streak is over, gentlemen.
Finally,
You lost, mate. Mana.
Yeah.
Finally.
Mate, Teddy out, Bradman Best out, and then Victor Radley got fucked up, and that was it. Game over.
Mate, if there was anyone that's going to beat you, Mana's classy, mate. He'll be there end of the season, that's for sure.
We will see what Byron's made of now with a few injuries. It's all well and good when you got everything going your way, but this is where we find out what you're made of, mate. Anyone can,
One injury. Yeah.
We'll put it this way. Round 12, I get about half my team back from injury, so I'll be looking good then.
You still would have beaten me.
No, I dumped Tavanga, and I don't know who's picked him up, but I'm sure someone would have.
You friggin' dumped Twal in exclusive, I saw, you bloody imbecile.
Did I?
Yeah, someone's picked him up. Anyway, that's a different story. Make sure you do your team on that. Wait till the week you play me, then do it the week after.
Well, I think mutually exclusive. I think for the first 5, 6 weeks there, I've actually only had about 10 players just because you get too busy during the week. Next thing you know, Thursday starts and I'm like, fuck it, I'll just lose again this week.
That's a fucking rubbish attitude, mate. You got a YouTube channel fucking dedicated to Supercoach. Give me a break.
Mate, bring back Jimmy Southwell, mate. I tell you.
Which one of the three of us has got the lowest score this year? Jeez, you giving Josh some shit?
Fucking bring on your bets, you pussies. I'll smash both of you by the end of the year. Don't worry about it.
Points. Actually, this is where you can have a look. So forget your head-to-head. Look at the points scored. So Mana's 5,400 flying. But he's only third.
Behind him.
Oh, mate, you're a long way behind him. What are you talking about? But look at Mana, right? So he's had 5,200 points scored against him. You've only had 4,500. So you've basically been playing reserve grade sides, whereas Mana's been up against first grade sides. So, big difference, mate. Big difference.
Mate, as I said, if it wasn't for those few instances, if it wasn't for COVID restrictions and shit like that, mate, I would have got up.
Can I just say, if I got the most points against me out of anyone, 5,231. I don't have the most points for, definitely, which helps, but I'll take that. Moral victory.
Absolutely.
But congratulations
what do we else?
to Big Marty for getting his.
Oh, Marty got to win.
Crack the dark.
Got to win on the ball.
Kando.
Yeah, and he beat Kando too.
Huge win. No, it's a good comp, this one. It'll be interesting. Kando keeps trying to rate me in trades like he has everyone else. He loves a trade, so we'll see how that goes. What do we got next, Bogan?
The fixtures for next week. Big games, fellas. So, Phantom vs. Psycho Circus.
There we go.
Ted versus Big Ginge. So the two mates from across the Kiwis going at it.
Yeah, the Kiwis together.
Marty's team versus Bundy's Bustards. Mana versus Wayno. Checkmate versus Hell's Grannies.
That'd be a good game there.
And the top of the table clash.
Oh, that makes me sick. Top of the table clash.
Between myself and Kane Anderson.
Oh, my battery's gone flat. Sorry, can't talk about it.
See you, Gomez. Look, and I reckon what's he got to beat you by 200 for you to lose top spot?
Yeah.
See you, Adra.
There you go. Interesting.
So,
Kando's been looking forward to this one. It would have been set up nicely had you both won this week.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. The way it went, unfortunately.
That's it for another week.
That is it, gents.
We've just ticked over 100 minutes. We are like the genuine Thursday night footy show. It used to go forever. Guys, join on the BJ Game Day group code. I'm sure most everyone who's watching are already on it. 218-667. I think we're up to about 300 followers. Guys, on the YouTube, we are at 398 subscribers. Help us crack that 400. Share it with a few guys. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. So, jump on board. It's just another milestone we can crack before we raise the goals for the next one.
So, anything else, fellas?
Oh, hang on. Benny wants a Bogan crystal ball. He's $300 short of Moses and Munster to SJ and Cleary. I tell you what I would do, Benny, is, mate, you send me 1,000 in the mail, I'll send you the 300. All right? That's a good deal.
What should
he do? $300 short.
If you don't have the money for it, you don't have the money for it. I don't know why you're fucking asking me. I'm not a fan of SJ, so I don't get Cleary instead of SJ.
Cleary.
Just nimble.
Cleary, just nimble.
And if you get Cleary and someone who you think you can make some bank on, so you can get that extra 300 and get SJ further down the track.
Maybe you got the pods, I reckon. Maybe not pod. White and Walker this week. Maybe D Brown, and get whoever you wanted next week.
Mate, Cody hasn't had his 150 yet this year.
Oh,
I remember last year at Woodsy's wedding.
Do you know who I brought in to get instead of that fucker too? Fucking Tedesco. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
And then this year, that's one of the best. That's got to be one of the best.
Yeah, that was an absolute shocker, mate.
4 tries. Anyway, forgot.
All right, guys. That's it for another week. Cheers for joining us. We will catch you all next week.
Cheers, guys.
And I might hit that transition so it fucking works.
Hey guys, thanks very much for joining us for another episode of BJ on Game Day. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell on YouTube for all your notifications. If you do want to follow us on Facebook, you can find us there at BJ on Game Day, and on Twitter we're at BJ on Game Day as well. So guys, we'd really like your support with that. Follow us so we can know you guys are enjoying the content. Thanks very much.